Hello world, this is Sticky Drosera, and today I wanted to talk about psilocybin mushrooms because I'm gonna make a little bit of a controversial claim, and that is that I believe that my very first experience with psilocybin mushrooms actually cured my depression. So hear my story, and keep in mind that this is very meaningful and profound for me. I grew up in a very religious household. I was homeschooled most of my life, so I was quite a loner, and so I didn't get as much of an opportunity to socialize as much as other kids my age did. And so that social anxiety was always there, even when I was a kid. And even as I went into my teen years, it got a lot worse because I really wanted to make friends and I really wanted to meet people and connect with people and meet girls and things like that. It was extremely difficult for me though, because every time I would go to hang out with people or to try to make friends, I would get extremely anxious to the point of being physically ill. And this happened so frequently. In addition to that, I was always just sad, and I was very depressed, and I was just, I don't know. If you have social anxiety or if you've ever had depression, you know what it's like. So in some sense, it's always been there, and it had gotten progressively worse as I reached my teenage years. Now, I had started getting into philosophy when I was a teenager, and I also started deconverting from Christianity, which was a long and difficult and emotional process. So my first experience with mushrooms became something of a tipping point for me, because the reason I started getting into them and started being curious about wanting to try mushrooms was because I was studying philosophy. I was interested in the mind. I was interested in experiences of the mind, and mysteries of the mind. And so naturally I was drawn towards it, and I wanted to try it for spiritual reasons, to see if I could learn something from it or grow from it. I even believed that I could maybe understand God better or something like that. So the first time I tried it, I managed to get my hands on some, and it was just like a light had turned on. All of a sudden, I could see myself in the way that I perceived the world. I felt a little bit like cleansed from a lot of the biases that I had grown up with, a lot of the emotional turmoil that I had dealt with my whole life. On an emotional level, I was able to think through things. Now, keep in mind, the first time I did this first experience, I was by myself. I did it alone in my room with family around, just overnight when everyone was asleep. And I only took 1 gram, just 1 gram. It was a profound experience to be able to feel like I was seeing myself better and seeing nature better. I'm sorry I don't have more descriptions of what the actual trip felt like in terms of the experience, because what I did most of the time when I was on it was introspection. And I remember spending most of my time just sitting in bed, looking around at the world around me, and finally understanding what it is on some deep level. And so the next day, I had gotten up, and I had managed to eventually get to sleep. And when I woke up, I felt this glow. Now, I wasn't intoxicated anymore, but I felt something different. I still felt like myself. It wasn't like I was a completely different person or anything like that. In fact, I felt more like myself. I had made plans to go meet with friends, and when I did this, I started noticing that social anxiety, that feeling of sadness that was always there, that feeling of struggle, the struggle to communicate with people, it was just gone. Completely gone. Now, you have to understand that realizing that I was no longer feeling that was even more profound of an experience than the trip itself. Something happened to me, and something changed in me that allowed me to feel comfortable with people and allowed me to feel open and allowed me to feel like being happy was a normal state of affairs. It wasn't something I struggled to get, if that makes sense. Now, I don't know if anyone else has an experience like this. I was a teenager. I was probably 18 when this happened, and I've been changed ever since. I haven't had that level of social anxiety or depression ever since. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening to my story, and hopefully I gave you some food for thought. Fare thee well.